I never thought I'd be homeless at 65. I never imagined that after decades of sacrifice, working long hours, scrimping and saving to make sure my daughter Jenna had everything she needed, I would end up with nothing. But life has a way of stripping you bare when you least expect it. It started with my job. I had been working as a receptionist at a small law firm for nearly 20 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and gave me purpose. That office was like my second home, until one morning I walked in and found a younger woman sitting at my desk. "Carol, can we talk?" My boss, Mr. Langston, called me into his office, avoiding my eyes. I knew before he even said it. The words still burned. "We're making some changes. It's nothing personal. You've been a dedicated employee, but we need someone with a fresher image. Someone who can adapt to new technology." Fresher image. That was just a nice way of saying, "You're too old." I wanted to scream that I had adapted. I had forced myself to learn how to schedule meetings through software instead of a desk calendar. I had fumbled through emails and digital filing systems when I had always preferred paper. I had tried, but none of it mattered. They handed me a severance check that wouldn't last 3 months and a box to pack up my things. And just like that, I was disposable. At first, I wasn't too worried. Jenna, my only daughter, would never let me go through this alone. I had raised her on my own after her father left us when she was 6. I had worked 2 jobs to put her through college. I had given up dating, vacations, and even my own retirement savings to make sure she had everything she needed. Surely, she wouldn't turn her back on me now. But when I sat across from her at her polished kitchen table and told her what happened, she didn't react the way I expected. She sighed, rubbing her temples like I was an inconvenience. "Mom, you know we're tight on space. The kids have their own rooms and Richard works from home. It's not like we have a guest room just sitting there." I swallowed hard. "I could sleep on the couch. It won't be forever, just until I figure something out." Jenna pursed her lips. "You did save for retirement, right?" The shame burned through me. I had always meant to, but there was always something more pressing. Jenna's tuition, her wedding, helping her with the down payment for her house. I had chosen to put her needs first every single time. I thought I'd be working longer. Jenna sighed dramatically as if my very presence was a burden. "Mom, we're already stretched thin with the kids' expenses. It's just not a good time." Not a good time. I sat there, trying to process the fact that my own daughter, my flesh and blood, was telling me there was no place for me in her home. I had given her everything, and now she was giving me nothing. That night, she let me sleep in the guest room, but the next morning, over coffee, she sat across from me with a tight expression. "I've been thinking," she said. "Maybe it would be better if you stayed somewhere else. A senior living place, maybe? If I heard some of them aren't too expensive." My throat closed. "Jenna, I don't have the money for that." She shrugged. I don't know what else to tell you, Mom." And that was that. I left her house with a small suitcase and nowhere to go. I had a little bit of money left, so I checked into a cheap motel for a week. I spent my days job hunting, applying for anything and everything. Grocery store cashier, hotel clerk, even cleaning jobs. But no one wanted a 65-year-old woman with stiff knees and outdated skills. And the worst part? Jenna stopped answering my calls. At first, she sent short replies. "Sorry, busy with the kids, we'll call later." But later never came, and then she just stopped responding altogether. I sat alone in that motel room, staring at my phone, waiting for something, anything, to change. But all I got was silence. And then my money ran out. When I checked out, I had nowhere to go. The shelters were full. I had never been so exhausted in my life, dragging my suitcase through the city, searching for a place to sleep. The benches were cold. The nights were cruel. I had never felt so invisible. I went from being a mother, a provider, a worker, to nothing. I was just another old woman society didn't care about. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Is this Carol Donovan?" a crisp voice asked. I hesitated. "Yes. My name is Walter Pierce. I'm an attorney handling the estate of a Mr. Theodore Donovan." My stomach flipped. I hadn't heard that name in over 50 years. My father's estranged older brother. "I regret to inform you that Mr. Donovan has passed," the attorney continued. And as his last living relative, you are the sole heir to his estate? I gripped the phone tighter. His estate? Yes, he said. You've inherited approximately $15 million. I nearly dropped the phone. $15 million. For the first time in weeks, I felt something unfamiliar stir inside me. Hope. I must have misheard. The words $15 million echoed in my head, but they didn't seem real. My hands trembled as I gripped the phone tighter. There must be some mistake, I stammered. I barely knew my uncle. He never reached out, never wanted anything to do with me. Walter Pierce cleared his throat. I understand this must be a shock, Mrs. Donovan. However, the legal documents are clear. Mr. Donovan never married, never had children, and from what I gathered, he was quite reclusive. But he left everything to you. If you'd like to come by my office, I can go over the details with you. I sat there, frozen, the weight of the past few weeks pressing down on me. One moment, I was a homeless, discarded woman. Now, I was an heiress? It felt impossible. But the address he gave me was real. The law firm was real. And the next morning, I was standing outside its tall, glass-paneled doors, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely think. Inside, Walter Pierce was a well-dressed, silver-haired man with sharp eyes and a polite, professional demeanor. He gestured for me to sit as he spread out a folder in front of me. Theodore Donovan lived a quiet life, he began. He invested well, owned multiple properties, and by all accounts, had more money than he knew what to do with. He had no close friends, no other family. And yet, before he passed, he specified that everything should go to you, his only niece. I swallowed hard, looking at the documents in front of me. Real estate deeds, stock portfolios, bank statements with numbers I could hardly comprehend. I don't understand, I whispered. Why would he leave this to me? He never wanted me around when I was a child. Pierce sighed. Sometimes people carry regrets they never speak about. Maybe this was his way of making amends. I didn't know how to feel. A part of me wanted to reject it. Money didn't erase abandonment. It didn't erase the years of struggle, the sacrifices I made for a daughter who had thrown me away like I was nothing. But another part of me, the part that had spent nights on park benches, who had felt the bite of hunger, who had cried herself to sleep in motel rooms, that part of me wanted to take it. Because I was tired of suffering. I signed the documents. And just like that, I went from a homeless woman to a millionaire. A new beginning. My first instinct was to find a place to live. Not a mansion, not something ridiculous, just a warm, comfortable place I could finally call my own. I found a beautiful apartment near the water. Nothing extravagant, just a peaceful place to rest, to breathe, to remind myself that I was safe. I paid the rent up front for a year, giving myself time to figure out what I truly wanted next. I stocked the kitchen with fresh food, bought myself new clothes, and slept on a bed that didn't creak under my weight. For the first time in months, I felt safe. I felt human again. Then, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to a spa. I let strangers massage away the stress, let them trim my hair and paint my nails. I looked in the mirror and saw her again, the woman I used to be before life wore her down. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. But just as I was beginning to feel like myself again, my phone rang. Jenna. After weeks of silence, I stared at the screen, my heart a mix of emotions. Did she suddenly remember she had a mother? I let it go to voicemail. Then another call. And another. By the fourth, I finally picked up. Mom! Jenna's voice was different now. Desperate. I've been trying to reach you. Where have you been? Are you okay? I could have laughed. Now she cared? I'm fine, Jenna, I said, keeping my voice even. Why the sudden concern? She hesitated. It's just, I feel awful about what happened. I should have done more to help. I miss you, Mom. I closed my eyes. I wanted to believe her, but deep down I knew. She had heard about the money. And just like that, my daughter, who had turned her back on me when I had nothing, wanted me back. I leaned back in my chair, staring out at the ocean view from my new home. For the first time in my life, I held all the power. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to forgive her. I sat there, the phone pressed to my ear, listening to my daughter's voice tremble with fake concern. Mom, I was so worried about you, Jenna said again, layering her words with forced sweetness. Why didn't you tell me where you were? I let the silence stretch between us, because she didn't care where I was. Until now. A month ago, when I was sleeping in a motel, Jenna hadn't cared. When I was wandering the streets with nowhere to go, she ignored my calls. When I was at my lowest, she had shoved me out of her life like I was inconvenient. But now that she had heard about the inheritance, she suddenly remembered I existed. I took a slow breath. I didn't think you'd be interested, Jenna. The last time we spoke, you made it clear that I wasn't your problem. Mom, she said, her voice hitching slightly. Please don't say that. I was just overwhelmed. You showed up so suddenly, and things were really tight for us financially. It wasn't that I didn't want to help you. I thought you'd figure something out. I almost laughed at the irony. I did figure something out. Jenna sighed when I didn't respond. Look, I know things got bad between us, but I want to fix that. Let's get together for lunch. Just us. I miss you. I closed my eyes. Maybe once I would have jumped at this chance. Maybe, before everything, I would have clung to the idea that my daughter still loved me, that she regretted what she had done. But I knew better now. Still, I wasn't going to let her know that. So I said, All right, Jenna. Let's meet for lunch. Jenna picked a fancy restaurant, one of those overpriced places where they barely give you enough food to fill your plate. It was a stark contrast to the cold way she had dismissed me when I had nothing. When I arrived, Jenna's eyes widened. I wasn't the same woman she had last seen. My hair was styled, my clothes were elegant but simple, and I carried myself with the quiet confidence that money had given me. Mom, she said, blinking, you look different. I feel different, I said, taking my seat across from her. The waiter came, and Jenna immediately ordered a bottle of expensive wine without even asking me. Oh, Mom, she gushed once we were alone. I just want to say again how sorry I am about everything. I hate how things went down between us. I've missed you so much. I studied her carefully. The rehearsed sadness, the desperate charm, the way her eyes darted to my handbag, probably wondering what bank cards I had inside. She wasn't here because she missed me. She was here because she wanted a piece of what I had. So I decided to play along. I've missed you too, Jenna, I said, keeping my voice even. It's been a hard few weeks. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. I can't believe you went through all that. I should have done more. I know that now. But at least things are looking up, right? She hesitated, then smiled sweetly. I heard about Uncle Theo's inheritance. Ah, there it was. The real reason she was sitting across from me, pretending to care. I sipped my water, pretending not to notice the hunger in her eyes. Oh, how did you hear about that? She gave a nervous laugh. Oh, you know, small world. Word gets around. Liar. She probably went digging the moment I stopped calling her. $15 million, she said, shaking her head in amazement. Wow, Mom. That's incredible. What are you going to do with it all? I raised an eyebrow. Live comfortably. Jenna gave a small chuckle. Right, of course. But, you know, things have been really tough for us, Mom. Richard lost a big client last month, and the mortgage is piling up, and the kids' tuition, we're struggling. There it was, the real reason for this lunch. I kept my face neutral. That must be hard. Jenna's eyes widened slightly, as if she was expecting me to jump in with a solution. Well, yeah, she continued hesitantly. It's been really stressful. I was actually thinking, since you have more than enough now, maybe you could help us out? Just a little, for the kids' sake? I set my fork down. When I had needed her, she turned me away. When I had nothing, she hadn't lifted a finger to help me. And now she expected me to save her? I leaned forward, my expression calm. I don't think that's a good idea, Jenna. Her smile faltered. What? I said no. Her face twisted, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Mom, she said slowly, forcing a smile, I know things were complicated between us, but we're family. You have millions. You can't just sit there and say you won't help your own daughter. I tilted my head. Funny, that's exactly what you did to me. She sucked in a sharp breath. That's not the same. It is, I interrupted. When I had nothing, you shut the door in my face. Now that you need something, I'm supposed to swoop in and fix everything? Her face turned red. So you're just going to let your grandchildren struggle? Mom, I cannot believe how selfish you're being right now. I let out a bitter laugh. Selfish? Me? You left me on the street, Jenna. Tears welled in her eyes, but I wasn't falling for it. You don't understand, Mom, she choked out. I have a family to take care of. I did what I had to do. But now, You can help. You can make things right. I stared at the daughter I had once loved with my entire heart. I had spent my life putting her first. Now, for the first time, I was putting myself first, and it felt damn good. I stood, grabbing my handbag. Lunch is on me, Jenna. Consider it my only gift to you. Her mouth fell open. Mom, I have to go. I smiled sweetly. Take care. Then I walked out of the restaurant, leaving my daughter sitting there, well, stunned. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one left behind. When I walked out of that restaurant, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Freedom. For years I had lived for Jenna. Everything I had I gave to her. Every sacrifice, every hard-earned dollar, every dream I put aside, all for her. And when I needed her most, she discarded me like an old coat she'd outgrown. But now I was no longer the mother begging to be loved. I was a woman with choices. I didn't go back to the small motel I had been staying at. Instead, I checked into the kind of hotel I used to only dream about. The kind with crystal chandeliers in the lobby and plush robes waiting in the suite. For the first time in my life, I let myself indulge. I ordered room service. I had a massage at the spa. I sat on the balcony with a glass of wine, watching the city lights twinkle below. And I thought about what was next. The next morning, I had a meeting with Walter Pierce, my attorney. Carol, he greeted me with a warm smile, motioning for me to sit in his office. I take it you're still adjusting to everything? That's an understatement. I chuckled. I've gone from sleeping on a park bench to looking at real estate listings in less than a month. Walter nodded. Well, I've finalized the paperwork. The money is officially yours, and there are no outstanding debts tied to it. You're completely free to use it however you wish. I hesitated. I don't know where to start. He smiled. Then let's start with this. What do you want? It was such a simple question, but it hit me hard. I had spent so many years worrying about what Jenna needed, about what my job required, about what society expected. But what did I want? I took a deep breath. I want a home, I said finally. A place that's mine. Walter nodded. That's a great place to start. And so, for the first time in my life, I went house hunting. Not for Jenna, not for anyone else, but for me. For the first time in my life, I could choose exactly where I wanted to live. This time, I wasn't just renting a place to stay. I was finally buying a home of my own. A real home. My home. I found a gorgeous house near the ocean, one that made my heart ache with happiness the moment I saw it. It had everything I had ever dreamed of. Large windows that let in the morning sun, a cozy fireplace for cold nights, and a garden I could make my own. I paid in full, knowing that no one could ever take this away from me. It was mine! And when I signed the papers, I felt something shift inside me. This was my fresh start. The moment Jenna found out I had bought a house, she came knocking. Literally. I had just finished unpacking when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, there she was, standing on my porch, looking at me like she barely recognized me. Mom. Her voice was soft, cautious. I leaned against the doorframe. Jenna? Her eyes darted past me, taking in the house. This is nice. It is. She swallowed, shifting on her feet. Can we talk? I should have said no. I should have closed the door in her face, the way she had done to me. But despite everything, I was still her mother. So I let her in. She walked through my house slowly, running her fingers over the furniture, glancing at the pictures I had already placed on the shelves. You really did it, she murmured. You really started over. I crossed my arms. Wasn't much of a choice. Jenna turned to face me, her eyes glassy with emotion. Mom, She let out a shaky breath. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. I was selfish, and I don't know how to make it right. I studied her carefully. For the first time, there was no forced sweetness, no hidden agenda. Just regret. Maybe even shame. But I wasn't the same woman who had once craved her love. I had learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I sighed. Jenna, I spent my whole life putting you first, and when I needed you, you left me in the cold. Tears slipped down her face. I know. I don't hate you, I continued, but I won't let you back into my life just because you feel guilty. I deserve more than that. Jenna wiped at her tears. Can we at least try? I let out a slow breath. Maybe one day I would be ready. But not today. I think we both need time, I said gently. You have your life, and I finally have mine. She nodded slowly, as if she had known this was coming, and for the first time, she was the one walking away from me.